Hey there and welcome. So, have you ever been writing an email or talking to someone and you just pause, wondering if you should use some or any? Well, trust me, you are so not alone. These two little words can be surprisingly tricky, but today we're going to clear up all that confusion. Let's just dive in and get this sorted out once and for all.
Okay, so picture this. You see a friend and they're really struggling with a bunch of heavy boxes. You want to be nice, you want to offer to help, so what do you say? Is it, do you need some help? Or is it, do you need any help? One of them just sounds a little more natural, right? And by the end of our explainer today, you're going to know exactly which one it is, and even better, you'll know why.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the golden rule. Then we'll get into the exceptions for some, and after that, the amazing superpowers of the word any. From there, we'll cover a few common mistakes you'll want to avoid, and we'll wrap it all up with a little challenge to see what you've learned.
All right, first things first. Let's lock in the main rule. I'm telling you, this one rule is going to have you covered like 80% of the time. This is your foundation, your starting point for everything else.
Now, before we get into what makes them different, it's really important to know that some and any kind of have the same job. We use both of them when we're not being super specific about a quantity. You know, like when you say, I need to buy some bread. You're not saying exactly how many loaves. Or you might ask, is there any pasta left? You just want to know if there's pasta, not the exact amount.
And here it is, the golden rule. And honestly, it's pretty simple. You use some in positive sentences, sentences that are affirmative, like, I have some questions. And you use any for negative sentences and for most questions. For instance, I don't have any questions or do you have any questions? Seriously, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this.
But you knew there was a but coming, right? This is English, after all. Where there's a rule, there are always a few interesting exceptions. So let's check out when you can, and actually should, use some in a question.
So this is the secret right here. The word you choose in a question actually shows what you're expecting the answer to be. When you decide to use some, you're basically sending a little signal that you think the answer is probably going to be yes.
And this whole expecting yes idea tends to pop up in a few specific situations. We use some in questions when we're offering something, when we're requesting something, when we're making a suggestion, or when we're pretty darn sure that the thing we're asking about is actually there.
Okay, let's take an offer, for example. If you ask, would you like some coffee? You're not just asking a random question. You're probably holding the coffee pot, you're making a direct offer. You expect they might just say yes.
And you know, it's the same deal with requests. If you ask a friend, can I have some water please? You're assuming they have water. You're not really questioning if water exists in their house, you're just politely asking for a glass of it. And boom, here we are right back at the beginning. When you see your friend struggling with those heavy boxes, you ask, do you need some help? Because the situation makes it pretty obvious that the answer is going to be yes. Saying any help isn't technically wrong, but some help just sounds so much warmer and more natural, because you can see they need it.
All right, so we've seen how some can sneak its way into questions. Now let's flip it around and see how any can do the exact opposite and show up in positive sentences. Yeah, I like to think of these as the special superpowers of any.
So any has three main ways it can crash the positive sentence party. First is when the sentence has a word that feels negative, like without or hardly, even if the word not isn't there. Second is when any means it really doesn't matter which one. And third is when you're talking about an unlimited amount of something.
So check this out. The sentence, I gave my speech without any notes, doesn't actually have not anywhere in it, so it looks like a positive sentence. But that little word, without, that brings in a negative idea, the absence of notes. And it's that negative feeling that requires the word any.
Ah, this is my favorite one. You know, the classic magician's line, pick a card, any card. When he says any card, he means you have total, complete, unrestricted freedom. It doesn't matter which one you choose. That right there is a key superpower of any.
And finally, and this is very connected to that last point, any can mean all or without limit. So if you say, I like any kind of cake, you're saying that it doesn't matter what kind it is, chocolate, vanilla, carrot, because you like every single one of them. Your options are totally unlimited.
Okay, we've gone through the rules, we've gone through the exceptions. Now let's just quickly step into the danger zone and look at a few common trip-ups just so you know what to watch out for.
All right, this slide is super important, so let's break it down. First mistake, you can't just use any by itself as a short negative answer. So instead of no, any, you'd say, no, I have none. Or the full sentence, no, I don't have any. Second, if you're asking about a single thing, like a pen, you'd usually use a. So do you have a pen? Sounds way more natural. And lastly, be really careful with anyone. It doesn't mean no one. If you want to say nobody helped you, you have to say no one helped me.
Whew, you've taken in a lot of information. I think it's time to put all that new knowledge to the test with a quick little challenge. You ready for this?
Okay, here it is. Your challenge is to fill in the blanks here with either some or any. The sentence is, I'm throwing a party, but I don't have blank music. Can you bring blank CDs? Go ahead and take a second to think about it.
And the answers are any and some. Nice. So the first sentence is negative. I don't have, so we need to use any. The second sentence is a question. Yeah, but it's a request. So we use some. Can you bring some CDs? Great job if you got that.
So let's just do a super quick recap. Always start with the golden rule. Some for positive, any for negative in questions. But don't forget those friendly exceptions, right? Use some for offers and requests. And remember the superpowers of any. Use it in positive sentences when you mean it doesn't matter which. And above all else, remember that context is king.
And I'll leave you with this one last thought. Is there any cake left and can I have some sugar are both perfectly correct questions. But the one you choose says something about what you expect. In that first question, you genuinely don't know if there's cake. In the second, you're pretty sure there's sugar around and you're just asking for it. And mastering that little difference, that is what's really going to make your English sound fluent.